Alright, Bronco fam. Today we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're actually not going to be working on the green machine. We're going to be working on our second Bronco, the Outer Banks. But first we got to get the green machine out of the way. In this video, we'll be taking a stock Outer Banks Bronco with the standard Bronco suspension, and we'll be adding on takeoff parts. For anyone who didn't purchase the Sasquatch package with their Bronco, this will be a good video for you. You can locate these parts on Craigslist or the Bronco 6G forums. I'll be referencing these pre-installed measurements later in the video. These are the Sasquatch shocks that I got from the previous owner, and I will say that dealing with these lower shock bolts is one of the hardest parts of the install. One trick I learned from another Bronco owner was to hammer these through a 27mm socket. It takes quite a few taps, but you'll be able to bang it through. To take out the front shock, you're going to need to remove 7 bolts. 18mm for the upper control arm, 18mm for the lower shock bolts, 21mm for the tie rod bolt, 10mm for the brake line, and 21mm for the sway bar end link. Upper control arm may require a few taps from a hammer to pop it loose. Another area you may need to loosen is the lower control arms with the 24mm socket. I ended up using a sawzall to cut the OEM bolts off, but if you need to keep them, then you may want to use just a pry bar to try to pry the lower shock bolts out of the lower control arm. Next, you want to remove the 15mm upper shock bolts, and once you do that, you're pretty much home free. The takeoff shocks that I picked up actually already had a 1.5-inch level on them, so I decided to keep them. And swapping in the new shock is relatively easy. Basically do everything you did previously to remove the OEM shock and do so in the reverse order. And make sure to torque everything to spec. If you intend to run 35-inch tires without rubbing, you are going to need to remove these decorations provided by Ford, also known as the front and rear crash bars. And to save you all some time, we're going to be doing the driver's side in a time lapse before starting on the rear. Find the process to remove the rear shock a lot easier than the front. You're only going to have to deal with the upper shock bolts, the 15mm, and the lower shock bolt, which is the large 27mm. I don't like messing with fender liners, so I just remove the bare minimum front portion of the fender liner to get access to the upper shock bolts. And just like with the front shocks, once you get the rear shocks out, you're pretty much home free. One area that I did find trouble with was actually getting in the lower shock bolt in the rear shock. What you'll want to do is move your jack stands to the frame in front of the rear wheel. This will allow the lower axle and bracket to drop so that you can put the bolt in place. Here you'll see the suspension swap has been completed. This Bronco is not officially Sasquatch, in my opinion. As for measurements, we ended up gaining 1.5 inches from the lower control arm to the ground, 1.25 inches in the rear wheel well, and 3 inches in the front wheel well at the level. And now the final step, the fun part, swapping in Sasquatch wheels and tires. These are 35-inch tires, Goodyear Territory mud terrains. If you do intend to keep your third brake light for the rear spare tire, you're going to want a rear brake light extension kit, so that your bigger spare tire doesn't block it from view. Now I can say that this Bronco is officially Sasquatch. Hopefully you found this video and all my videos informative. If you'd like to see more content from the Green Machine 4x4 YouTube channel, definitely please subscribe. Thanks for watching.